Hello everybody and welcome back to the Eco Posh for You YouTube channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Thursday so far, or as we like to refer to it as Friday Eve. Today we are going to be talking about bad reviews on Poshmark, okay? What happens when you get one? What happens when you get one that's not fair? Like maybe it's something about, okay, well, we'll talk about that later. But you get one that's either not fair, it's something that's beyond your control, and your first thoughts are, how's this going to affect my closet? Does this affect me? Is everybody going to read this? Blah, 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 blah. And the reason that we're going to talk about this today is because I see this all the time on the forums, and this morning, it happened to me. Okay? We're going to talk about it. And to be clear, we're not talking about situations where the buyer is justified in leaving the seller a bad rating, okay? We're talking about situations where it's inherently unfair that a buyer left a seller a bad rating. And I realize that fairness is something that is subjective and a perception. However, I do believe that there are a couple different circumstances that most of us can agree as Poshmark sellers where we get a bad rating and it's out of our control. Okay, so we're going to go through those situations and talk about them. Okay, so number one situation that we're not going to have any control over as sellers is going to be anything really involving USPS, okay? Except for packaging, like if the item is damaged and you did not package the item properly, that's your fault. That's not USPS's fault, okay? So with the exception of that, in most situations, okay, it's not going to be the seller's fault. Like if the package is delayed, it takes longer to arrive, those types of things are out of our control, okay? Because once we drop the package off, there's not much we can do, you know? All we can do is get the package there in a timely fashion, which I think that we need to be doing as sellers. You need to have it within your 3 days, okay? Unless it's something like, you guys know I do paintings and something takes a while to dry or there's some kind of reason, you need to be shipping it as soon as possible. Really, you need to ship it within 2 days, I think. But 3 days is what they give you if you're an ambassador, and if you're not, 5 days, but yeah. So, things like that, not your fault. If you packaged it correctly, then, you know, the box being torn or the box being wet because it was left outside for delivery and there was rain, things like that are not your fault, okay? That type of thing. Number one, USPS. Number two, I think would be fit, okay? Because we don't have a lot of control over the way that something fits a person, okay? All we can do as sellers is take a measurement, include photos of measurements, and take pictures of the tag, you know? Fit is like, I don't know. I don't know if the person buying it is tall or short. And a lot of times the brands that I'm selling, there's only a few brands that I'm really familiar with as a person. Like, I'm not a big fashion person. I mean, I like different aspects of fashion, but yeah, I mean, I only have experience with a couple brands. So if somebody asks me, does this run big or small? I don't know. I don't know that information. That's why I take measurements of everything and put it in there. I don't know. I never heard of that brand before. I can't even pronounce that brand. Anyway, like, you know what I mean? So that's why we take measurements as sellers. And if you're not taking measurements, you need to do that. If you're not taking measurements, you need to be taking measurements because there's a lot of reasons. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so fit. Not our fault if something is too big or too small. Especially when the seller, and I know not everybody does it, but if they have measurements included especially, like, it's really hard to fight that type of case on Poshmark. Now, granted, I have seen more people complaining in the forums like, oh, somebody did a return on me for fit and they actually won. I don't understand. I thought you weren't supposed to return for fit. And a lot of times these people aren't putting measurements in their things because it's kind of hard to come back and say, like, they didn't know what the size was when you're like, yes, they did. Do you see the pictures of the measurements in the photos? Hello? Hello, McFly? Hello? All right, so the next scenario that we're going to talk about is just kind of a broad category, and it's going to encompass just all BS low ratings. And that's for things like when somebody gives you 1 star and says that the item has bed bugs, okay, or something ridiculous like that. When you know the item doesn't have bed bugs, they're just unhappy with their purchase for whatever reason and can't really blame it on you because it's not your fault, okay? And that does happen sometimes. So those would be the basic reasons that you might get an unfair rating, okay? And if there's some that I haven't listed or you feel like deserve a video or category of their own, please put them in the comment section below because I would really like to make sure that I get a comprehensive list, okay? All right, so there's that. Now, what happens when you get a low rating? What does it affect? All right, so first of all, what they do is obviously your rating as a seller, they take an average of all of your ratings, they divide it by however many ratings you have, basic how to take an average that you should have learned in elementary school or wherever you learned it. So you take the average and that's your rating. So does it affect you? It does affect you as far as it does go into the average on your seller rating, okay? So keep that in mind, all right? If you've got a lot of 5-star ratings and you have sold a lot of items, then you really don't have to worry about this very much or as much. If you're a new seller and you've only sold, this is when it really is a problem. And I hate it when this happens to people, but say you're a new seller, you're just starting out, you've sold maybe 4 or 5 things, okay? Everybody's giving you a 5-star. They're very happy with it. And then you get one person that's just a real B, okay? And for whatever reason, they take it out on you and they give you 1, 2, 3 star, okay? What happens then is it does go into your average, and for somebody that hasn't sold as many items, it's definitely going to affect you, okay? It's going to look like it's going to bring down your rating for sure. But if you've sold a lot of items, you've mostly got good ratings, then literally nobody cares, all right? So don't really give that another thought. Now let's talk about the comments that people leave on the bad ratings, okay? You'll get everything from a couple words to somebody writing an entire novel to tell you that they're unhappy. So this is what you need to remember about those comments, okay? Unless they gave you a 5-star rating, you're not going to be able to see that comment on your love notes. So when you go to your closet, you click about and you go down, you can see the average ship time, the rating, all of that kind of thing. You're not going to see the comments that people leave or the reviews that people leave that are negative. Poshmark doesn't post those. They go to your email and, you know, they'll get on your nerves for a couple seconds, and then you just have to read them and realize whatever, okay? Whatever. So they're not going to affect you, except for the only way that the ratings will affect you, the ones where they type them out, or the comments, I'm sorry, not the ratings themselves, because like I explained, they do affect you. But the rude, nasty, unnecessary, just comments, those aren't gonna affect you. The only way those are gonna affect you is if you let them, okay? And I've seen people really upset about it. Usually when people realize that it doesn't show up and that nobody's gonna be able to read it, it's not gonna be anything that ever shows anywhere publicly, anywhere. It's not gonna be a thing. Once most people realize that, they're not as upset about it. But I've seen some people get really upset over a rating. And now that I've explained kind of how it works on Poshmark, I'd like to take this minute to offer you some personal advice. Okay? Don't send them a message and ask them how you can improve. Don't send them a message and ask them to give you a better rating. Don't send them a message to, just don't do it. Okay? Don't send them a message. The reason I say that, well, I say that if it's a BS, okay? If it's a BS situation, then if they're just being catty and for any of the reasons, any of the three reasons I mentioned earlier today, please don't go and don't say, how can I improve? What can I do? Will you change your rating? Do not, okay? Do not do it. Now, if it's something that is legitimate, as far as, none of us are perfect. Maybe there was a flaw or a rip or a stain. And I'm not talking about somebody that created one to be able to do a return. I'm talking about somebody that didn't do a return, that just left a bad rating, and they were like, I can't believe they sold me this and didn't tell me there was a rip or something like that. By all means, reach out to those people. You should be reaching out to those people. If you make a mistake, you should definitely try in good faith to correct that mistake. Okay? I believe fully 100% in that. But that's not what I'm talking about here. Okay? What I'm talking about here are BS reasons for somebody to give you a bad rating. All right. If somebody gave you a bad rating and you look at it and you're like, oh man, oops, I did mess up there, you need to reach out to them, period. Okay. So, but as far as BS orders, don't do it. Don't do it. Especially if that person didn't leave you a 1-star. Okay. If that person left you a 2-star, a 3-star, especially do not contact them, okay? Because they can always go back and change it to a 1-star, okay? So, because some people are going to be annoyed, number one, that you contacted them. It's like, why are they harassing me about my rating? And they're going to change it to a 1-star just because they didn't like the fact that you contacted them, okay? Some people are that level of petty. They live in Pettyville, USA, all right? They're the mayor, okay? They are the mayor. They're reelected every election. They're always the mayor of Pettyville, USA, all right? Why in the world would you contact people like that and ask them to change their rating? They're not going to do it. They're only going to come down harder on you. I mean, and maybe they won't. Maybe you'll have a good conversation about it and blah, 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 blah. I'm just giving you my personal advice from my experience and my opinion, okay? That's all I can do. If you've had other experiences and you have other opinions, put them in the comments, or you can, good. I'm glad, because in my experience, it doesn't go well to ask people to change a rating, especially if they gave you a low rating for BS anyway, okay? So say they gave you a low rating because it didn't fit them, and you send them a message and you're like, you type them a little message. Did you know that Poshmark doesn't allow returns for fit? Why are you giving me a low rating for the way it fit? This wasn't my fault. I can't help how this fits you. Can you please change your rating? Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. It's just not going to end well. And once again, that's just my opinion, my personal advice and my opinion. If somebody asked me, a friend, that's what I would tell them. So I say that to say, I realize that it can be frustrating to get a lower rating, especially if you haven't really sold a lot of items yet. It can really affect you. And in that case, maybe it would be better to contact them. However, if you are a seasoned seller and you've been selling and you've sold a couple items and it doesn't take your rating down at all, or if it does, it takes it down like 0.1 or 0.2, like just go on about your business. Like I said, I received one today. I initially got a 5-star rating 5 days ago. And then this morning I woke up and it's like, they have changed it. They've changed the rating to like a 2-star rating. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? So I guess they just now tried it on and realized it didn't fit them or whatever. And yeah, fit is the most annoying. It's like, I took measurements. I took pictures with an actual measuring tape. What else do you want me to do? You want me to go over there and try it on you and look at it? Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how else I could have ensured that this fits you. But anyway, it is what it is. It happens to all of us. And that's the video today. So please let me know if you've had any interesting experiences with it or anything like that. Or if anybody ever wants to come on and tell their story or send me an email or send me anything and tell me about something really messed up that's happened to them, please let me know. I'm always looking for interesting stories. That way the rest of us know how to deal with this crazy stuff when it happens to us. Like, a lot of these things I thought would never happen as a seller on the internet. I didn't even know half of these issues existed until the last couple months. So I can easily admit that I'm still learning and that I don't know everything, and I'm usually learning from other people all the time, and that's why I'm always looking for new information and I'm always on the forums, is so that I can stay current and, you know, hopefully protect myself against stuff happening, because I'll know what to do when it happens. But anyway, okay, I'm at this point, we are babbling, so I'm going to end this video. I appreciate you guys joining me today. I do have some really interesting videos coming out this week, and we will be doing backseat painters today, so I hope you guys will join me later for that. But enjoy your day, guys, and I hope you're getting lots of sales. See you later!